Welcome to The Wall. In today's video, we will talk about how women dress at the gym, wearing clothes that leave nothing to the imagination, and then how they feel offended if you look at them. We want to invite you to smash that like button and help us reach 100,000 subscribers before the end of the year to get our first plaque. That's the only support we ask for, man. Add your grain of sand to the movement. Share your experience in the comments for any man who needs it. Without further introduction, let's get started.
I know the influence, I know the impact, and I know the vibes. And the girlies love the vibes. And
okay, I was at the gym this morning, and some of these gym outfits that these girls are wearing are getting crazy. Crazy. Okay. I want to know when a guy sees a girl in pretty much like underwear and bra working out, right? What are they thinking? Are they just like, oh, this is a hot piece of ass, I want to hook up with her? Are they like, that's the girl I want to marry, that's the girl I want to bring home? Are they thinking, oh, she's probably easy? I just think like there's nothing left to the imagination at that point. I don't know. Why has it gotten to this? You got to wear literally no clothes or stuff that's so skin tight. I don't know. I think if I was your girlfriend or your wife, there's got to be a line where you just don't cross. So like, are these girls all single? Are these girls married? Do husbands care? They're like, I'm proud of that chick. Like, I'm proud of my wife. Like, look at my wife, kind of showing her off like a trophy. And they're like, yeah, my wife looks bomb. Or they like, girl, go put some damn clothes on before you think you're walking out of the house. Like, what is the perception here? In my mind, I think, is it necessary you wear pretty much bra and underwear to the gym? I get that you look great, but why? And we're in the winter. For me, I mean, it doesn't affect me. I don't really care. I'm going to wear whatever I want, no matter what anyone else thinks. But I want to know what the guys think. I want to know the single guys think, and I want to know what the married guys think and what the perception of these girls are to them. I mean, because I'm at the gym, I usually look like a bum. So maybe I need to change my ways.
It's funny because it's true.
The gym used to be the temple of men. You could go there to train your body, make friends, and improve yourself. But then it was invaded by women who only seek attention. Nowadays, there's a camera almost everywhere recording a girl who wants to get simps. They started recording men who just walked by, calling them disgusting or harassers. As this woman says, they leave nothing to the imagination. But that's their goal. There are gyms only for women, but they don't like to go there because what they want is attention from the men at the gym. Many of these women are pure narcissists who suffer from the main character syndrome. They always believe that every man around them wants to hit on them, when many just want them to turn off that camera around them.
And some of these gym outfits that these girls are wearing are getting crazy.
And ladies, these are the type of dudes you want to avoid. He is the pervert I'm talking about that be in a gym looking at half-naked women.
If you want to know what men's lack of accountability and self-awareness looks like, this is it. See, Saint is warning women that it's other men they need to be careful of ogling them in the gym. And that comes in response to him saying this with his whole chest.
I'm tired of these chicks coming into the gym literally half-naked and they get mad when people are staring at them. If a woman is out in the public half-naked or almost naked, I'm going to try my best not to look, but I am going to look.
Now, the commenter here is responding to Saint, saying that that sounds like a you problem, and that rather than making your lack of self-control everyone else's problem, perhaps you should work out at home. But Saint has the perfect response for any man who dares call him out.
If any man can get on the internet and say he's not distracted by women being in person, being half-naked in front of them, he's lying to himself.
Any man who disagrees and doesn't constantly sexualize women like I do is lying to themselves is not a rebuttal, it's a confession. It's also demonstrably untrue. I work for a company that sells lingerie. Many of our meetings are held surrounded by marketing images of women in lingerie, and yet we all manage to stay on task and get our work done. And in our office, there are regular photo shoots happening of models in lingerie, and yet that team and everyone around them still manage to maintain focus and get the job done. But not to worry, because Saint can also explain why that is.
Every man is going to look, unless you're floating for the other community. And that's probably that's the reason why you don't get distracted. You're not distracted by the women, because you like looking at sausage.
Ah yes, the old, you treat women with dignity and respect? Must be gay. Congratulations, you've managed to be insulting, offensive, and demeaning to both straight and gay men in one fell swoop. Happy Pride Month, I guess. I will continue to reiterate that no one is more misandrist than misogynistic men who insist that treating women with dignity is some sort of aberration. Saint then jumped into a live to continue the discussion and said this.
Why do you feel so comfortable coming outside half naked to a gym?
The real question is, why shouldn't a woman feel comfortable coming to a gym in any level of clothing? Why can't a woman walk freely around in public entirely naked? In parts of Europe, it's utterly normalized. I remember vacationing on the beaches of Greece, seeing many women and men sunbathing and walking around naked. So please, finish your thought. Why shouldn't women feel comfortable being half naked around men?
I'm tired of these chicks because they don't understand the ramification.
This is one of those rare instances where I'd actually like him to talk more on this, to expand on this thought. What ramifications? Because this is giving because of the implication vibes. Truthfully, we all know what he means and the reasons why. The ramifications are that it makes certain men who can't control themselves or their urges uncomfortable. And we could talk about that. About why it is that men in gyms feel the need to stare and sexualize the women around them. Or why, once again, men's lack of impulse control means we need to control and modify women's behavior, to shame them into modesty lest they commit the shockingly foul crime of stirring the men's loins. Or why all female nudity is responded to by these men as being for their personal pleasure and arousal, and how all of this ties into harmful purity culture. But we're not going to, because projection is easier than reflection. And even as these men confess that they are powerless to resist a pair of bare cheeks, watch them, with no sense of awareness, insist the men calling this behavior out as problematic that are actually the problem. So instead, we'll just settle for these men consistently telling on themselves and revealing who the real problems are.
Oh my God, who the hell?
These are the men who always blame the man, but never the woman. Do they know the hundreds of videos of women recording themselves, calling a guy disgusting or a harasser just because he glanced in their direction? Married men with good reputations are sometimes accused of this. If women don't want men's attention, why did they protest when men-only gyms were opening, calling them sexist and misogynistic until they got them closed? Why don't they go to women-only gyms if they don't want attention? It's because they claim men's fears, lack of self-control, and insecurities reflect on women. But Mr. Simp says that this is about treating women without respect, yet as long as I can remember, respect is not given, it's earned. A woman who dresses almost half naked in a gym doesn't deserve my respect. Today, approaching a woman to help is just inviting criticism. There are men who group together in the gym, leaving no space for a woman to join, just to avoid being bothered. This is what it has come to, where all men have to protect themselves.
You ever have someone in the gym that just has no gym etiquette? So when I film, I try to go in the smallest corner where I can so I'm out of the way. Tell me why this woman squeezes through, steps over my stuff, and keeps going. I am confused.
Please, please, please don't do this nonsense at the gym. You're there to work out, not film TikTok dance videos. And listen, I'm all for dancing between sets or on the treadmill. Love to see people do it. I do it myself. But you don't do it standing directly next to somebody that's working out just so you can distract them to get a reaction so you can film it and post it on social media for likes and attention. People in the gym are not accessories for your social media content. Be more respectful of them. And listen, if you want to film dance videos, go in the studio classroom where nobody is and film as much as you want. But keep it off the gym floor. You need to do better. Mind your own business.
Oh, hell no!
Oh, but according to Mr. Simp, she's not doing anything wrong. Imagine if that man had complained. He would have seen countless women criticizing him for trying to protect his integrity and not hurt her. But of course, she's not to blame. It's the man's fault for seeing a girl dressed almost half naked, shaking her but near him while he's lifting more than 100 pounds on the bench press. That's not a problem at all, right? It's just that he might get injured, or she might misstep and hit him, causing him to lose balance. But since women don't like to take responsibility, no matter what they do, you always have to respect them because they are so worthy of respect. That's why more men decide to train at home or in their garages, trying to stay away from these women who only want to cause problems.
This is how you talk to creepy men in the gym.
You guys can imagine the comments on this one, but a lot of weightlifters have weighed in on this, and they have said that this is actually the quickest and best way to remove the weight off of her. And what I think should be appreciated is that that man did not even hesitate. She asked for help, and he gave her help as quickly as he could without really processing it. But what I fear is that this type of video makes it to the wrong side of social media, you know, like the feminist side, and the man gets torn apart for how he removed the weight from her. What this would lead to is obviously him getting criticized, which is not fair, but also other young men will see this and it might cause them to react differently to a similar situation if it occurred to them. And that to me is not okay. We're not making the world a better place in that case. But what do you guys think?
Damn!
Sadly, the way things are today, I'd say he got himself into a problem he didn't have. Didn't they see the other woman? The man thought she got stuck under the weight and kindly asked if she was okay. She uploads it with a title calling him a creepy man. What did that man do wrong? Did he hit on her? Did he speak rudely? Did he try to flirt? He just checked if she needed help. He approached with kindness, and she responded with malice. These women record you without considering the consequences. That man could have been married, he could have daughters, he could be a businessman or have his own business, or even a good job. Now there's a video of him labeled as a creepy man just for wanting to help. Brothers, avoid problems you don't have. Let the gym owners handle helping people. That's not your business.
Hi.
No.
Absolutely love this video. I had so many people send this to me and it put the biggest smile on my face. So I wanted to share it with all of you. This might be my favorite gym video of 2024. This is the type of energy we need more of in gyms. And as I always say, if I ever see you filming at the gym, your video becomes my video. I will photobomb you. Thank you, Margarita, for sharing such an awesome video. You look incredible. Keep up the hard work. Everyone go show her some love. Have an amazing, amazing weekend.
Absolutely. If you want to record yourself, create a gym for influencers, and let the people who actually go to work out do their thing in peace. Men need to look out for each other. If you see someone recording in an area where they shouldn't be, walk by them 20 times if necessary, and invite more people to do the same to put an end to this nonsense. If she wants to model, there are places for that. They've taken over all the areas where men used to gather. We no longer have places to be with friends because they have this need for male attention. So, protect yourselves, men.
So my body count is 500 and it got me thinking, what is the average person's? Like,
damn, that sounds like a super fun life. A life I will never have because unfortunately I had good parents with standards.
Welcome to The Wall. In today's video, we will talk about women's behavior. We will listen to a man's speech telling us that men are the problem and that dating a woman with a high body count is nothing more than a fear stemming from our weakness and internalized misogyny. We want to invite you to smash that like button and help us reach 100,000 subscribers before the end of the year to earn our first plaque. That's the only support we ask for, man. Add your grain of sand to the movement, share your experiences in the comments for any man who needs it, and without further introduction, let's get started.
This idea that this is only important for women and that this doesn't have any effect on men sleeping around, or it doesn't indicate anything about men's likely personalities, it doesn't make much logical sense. Men who have higher body counts and men who are more sociosexually unrestricted generally have all the same negative outcomes.
But the difference is a man who is sexually promiscuous, that's not seen as a negative outcome.
Thank you, Mac and Murphy, for validating everything I've ever thought about pair bonding and a high body count. When I hear people talk about these studies, they're always about women unable to pair bond if they have a high body count, but this is obviously not just the case with women, men too. The data shows that people with a higher body count, not just women, are more likely to be unfaithful, less likely to be satisfied in a monogamous relationship, and more likely to get a divorce. Sleeping around on both ends isn't good. I am so overhearing about women having difficulty pair bonding when it's an issue between both men and women. I'd love to hear your thoughts on this topic down below.
Stop it. Get some help.
If it's a problem, the first thing is that a woman with a high body count indicates emotional instability, meaning she has no commitment to anything. Second, a woman with a high body count is more likely to be unfaithful in a relationship. This brings many other issues. It can be compared to men who are womanizers. It's the same problem. Yes, that's true. But here's the thing. The number of womanizing men compared to women is a minority. Few men today can say they've been with more than 50 women, but the average woman surpasses that number easily. I'm not saying it's a competition, but habits shape humans. Once you get used to something, trying to erase those patterns becomes almost impossible. However, Mr. Simp will give a good explanation of this in the next video.
So my body count is 500, and it got me thinking, what is the average person's?
Damn, that sounds like a super fun life. A life I will never have because unfortunately I had good parents with standards.
Hilarious. Men only have two responses to women enjoying their sexuality. Either she has daddy issues, or it's hot dog down a hallway again and again and again. And it's bad enough that guys for years have been trying to convince everyone that the reason men like themselves are stuck being single, whoa, veered wildly off script there. Sorry. The reason that women can't find a good man is because their standards are too high, too unrealistic. But when a woman comes along to show that there is no shortage of men willing to entertain the kind of woman they claim is all used up, has no value, and men do not want, well then they double down on shaming and insults, even though we all know they would be the first to get in line if they had the opportunity. Because otherwise they wouldn't need to back up their rhetoric by making up things about women's bodies that are absolutely not true. It's a myth invented to shame women and to reinforce archaic notions that women are not supposed to engage in or enjoy intimacy, which has to be one of the biggest ways of telling on yourself, gentlemen. The reality is, like any skill, it does not get devalued the more you practice it. And if you want to reserve your cooking skills for your spouse in order to make it more meaningful and special, then that's beautiful, more power to you. But let's stop with this notion that Gordon Ramsay is less of a human being because he satisfied more people. And that it's okay to shame, ridicule, and insult him for it because he'll give anyone a slice of his beef Wellington. It is far more likely that it is this juvenile understanding of women's bodies, the constant need to degrade others, that is keeping men from finding meaningful connections.
Cocaine is a hell of a drug.
Because like any skill, it doesn't devalue with more practice. So why don't you choose a woman like that to marry? Because you know all the problems that come with it. But sure, I don't go through that, but I approve of those who do. These are the simp men who say what women want to hear just to get their attention. Now, I bet they would never marry a woman with a body count of 500 men. Brothers, do you know what 500 men are? He's right. There will always be a man available to keep increasing the number, because for intimacy, there's always someone available. But from that to having her as a wife, there's a huge gap. What he doesn't tell you is the suffering you'll endure being with a woman like that. What he doesn't tell you is the risk you take of getting a sexually transmitted disease from being with a woman like that. What he doesn't tell you is the shame of going somewhere with a woman every man in the place has been with. What he doesn't tell you is that the more she's used, the more she wears out. You know what? What he doesn't tell you is the immense risk of paternity fraud with a woman with those habits. What he doesn't tell you is the high possibility of her cheating on you in the relationship multiple times, I assure you. Because, of course, Mr. Simp says it's nothing, but I bet his woman isn't like that.
It's not that men can't have preferences. It's all about how they express those preferences. See, any of the men watching that video could have realized that that woman is not their preference and moved on. Instead, they took time out of their day to let everybody know, to broadcast, that this woman is not their preference. And then, on top of that, they opted to shame her, insult her, and degrade her. And all because she does not live her life in compliance with their preference. And at that point, it stops being about a preference. It's about shaming and insulting everybody else into complying with your preference, ridiculing and insulting any woman who dares to live differently.
You serious? It's true, he has a point, but you also express yourself against everything men say. You could keep your opinion to yourself, but with your free right, you can express yourself, like your channel called Patriarchy. It's the same as this channel called The Wall. What it's doing is expressing your freedom of speech, just like the hundreds of videos of women expressing their preferences on the internet. For example, the 666 of the apocalypse, a man with six-pack abs, a man who is 6 feet tall, a man who earns at least 6 figures. So, it's okay for a woman to express her preferences, which discard and offend almost 80% or more of men. But if a man says he doesn't want a woman with a high body count, it's wrong. Because it's an attack if it comes from a man's mouth, but it's objectivity when a woman says it.
So by using your logic, one shouldn't be attacked for such preferences, correct? And yeah, bingo, you nailed it. Men are not getting attacked for having preferences. Simply having a preference doesn't mean that anybody else has to know what that preference is. See, before I met my amazing wife, I used to be a prolific dater. I would go on 2 or 3 dates a week, and sometimes those dates would lead to a second date, but more often than not, they wouldn't, which would then mean sending them a message. It was lovely to meet you, thank you for giving me your time, enjoyed getting to know you more, but ultimately I didn't feel the connection I was looking for, but I do wish you well on your search. Now, notice the difference between the type of message I would send and saying something like, oh, I'm sorry, I'm looking for someone who is intelligent. Or, I prefer women with a sense of humor, and that's not you. Or, I only date athletic and attractive women. Your body type is gross to me. I really want somebody who has some self-esteem and actually works out. And the excuse given is that I'm just expressing my preference. But in every single case here, you're not merely expressing your preference, but you're making a judgment call about that person. You value intelligence, and you're letting that person know you don't think they're intelligent. And then acting all surprised and shocked that the person is getting defensive, insulted, and upset at you after you just insulted them, telling them that they're not smart or funny or attractive or loyal or moral or a good person or whatever it is. But just letting that person know they are not a match makes it abundantly clear they are not your preference. And that is all you need to communicate. And if you're not actively dating that person, if you're just scrolling on by on social media, then good news, you don't even need to communicate that. And so if you are feeling attacked for having preferences, try just having preferences without feeling the need to jump into the comments and broadcast them to people who never asked.
Good point, but you also respond to other people's opinions or preferences when nobody asked you. When you look at many modern women's dating profiles today, you see how they expose their preferences. Whether it offends you or not, they don't care. So why should men care if their preferences bother women? Why should men always be respectful when women are disrespectful to them? I agree that one can reject someone courteously because telling the truth in an unempathetic way just makes you look like an idiot. But men in this country receive more verbal abuse than women. The only thing guys like this say is that you should endure it because your opinion shouldn't be expressed, even when you're the one being insulted. There are men with severe traumas from what a woman said to them because she may not hit you, but she can damage your mind with her words. But he won't say anything to those women because they are the so-called weaker sex. He has to sell his little speech. I'll tell you something. I know many of those messages he sent, even if they were polite, didn't end well. We've seen hundreds of videos where a man rejects a woman in a certain way, and we see how women react the worst way to it. But let's continue, because the last video is a great response to what Mr. Simp said.
Do you think that American women are unmarriageable?
Here's the answer that most men will tell you. We don't just think it. We know it. Now, it is a legitimate question you're asking, and it's one many women are asking. Why aren't men wifing us up anymore? Why aren't they even asking us out? Now, in her video, she brings up things like women have become more promiscuous and stuff like that. And to a certain extent, that might be a fair point. I mean, the average guy doesn't look at a woman with a high body count as someone who's wife material. He'll look at her as, well, you know what material. The real issue right now is the complete and utter lack of respect that today's modern women have for men. They don't respect us as human beings. They don't respect us as men. And they say it all the time. Oh, they won't say it directly, but they'll say things like, we don't need you anymore. You don't serve any purpose in society. You're the old way. It's women's time now. And men have heard that over and over again. And the other part of it is they have this preconceived notion of what a man is supposed to be and what he's supposed to do. And what is he supposed to be? Very simply, perfect, as in not a single flaw. He looks perfect, he acts perfect, he does everything to make her happy, or as they like to call it, providing for her. It's why they have that long laundry list of criteria that they expect the man to meet, not just when he's first dating her, but for the entirety of their relationship. And the minute he doesn't do any of that, she'll toss him aside. And even if a man managed to actually meet all those criteria, guess what? She'll start moving the goalposts. And even if he continues to hit the mark, the time will come where he'll miss on something. He'll do 99 things right, but that one thing he does wrong, that's the one she's going to focus on. That is how today's modern women think. Men know it, men see it, and men are tired of it, which is why men are walking away. Dating, relationships, marriage, over and done with for men. Oh, sure, we'll do the old hit it and quit it, but wife you up ain't gonna happen. It is what it is, ladies. Y'all said for how many decades now you don't need us anymore. We heard you, and now we're giving you what you want. Which begs the question, why do y'all keep asking? Where did the men go?
Give this man a beer. But Mr. Simp doesn't correct these behaviors in women because, of course, it's the fault of the patriarchy and men's misogyny. What we see today with men is a reaction to the abuses women have inflicted on us for a decade. Many men don't want to take the risk of getting married, ending up in a woman's TikTok story where she plays the victim and accuses you of being an abuser or living in constant manipulation. Or they fear that if they get married and spend a significant amount of money to accommodate a woman, she might decide not to deal with you anymore, divorce you without reason, and first accuse you of emotional abuse to take everything. I know men need to improve, of course, we know that. Here, we always support men to bring out their best version because when a man is masculine, focused on his life path, and prioritizes himself, even his wife and children benefit. But saying all men are bad while ignoring the current behavior of women makes Mr. Simp's argument a total fallacy because not everything is one-sided.
I recently saw an article where they want to make it difficult for women to get divorced.
So when no-fault divorce became the norm, the suicide rate in women dropped by 20%. 20% just based on
From fault to no fault.
Fault to no fault. So going back to fault divorces does nothing but traps women and keeps them in dangerous situations. Period. Full stop.
This is an all-out assault on women.
Welcome to The Wall. In today's video, we'll talk about how they want to get rid of no-fault divorce, how women are against it. It's a long video, but entertaining. I hope you enjoy it because it's quite serious. Men in this country must support the removal or modification of this law because it is the #1 reason for almost all divorces. We want to invite you to smash that like button and help us reach 100,000 subscribers before the end of the year to get our first plaque. That's the only contribution we ask of you, man. Add your grain of sand to the movement. Leave your experience in the comments for any man who needs it. And without further introduction, let's get started.
Vox recently released an article detailing how the Christian right would like to get rid of no-fault divorce. No-fault divorce is basically when you want to dissolve your marriage without proving wrongdoing by either party. So no-fault divorces are good because a lot of women are trapped in abusive marriages. And in order to divorce, in certain states and jurisdictions, you have to go to your abuser and ask him to sign the paperwork and grant you that divorce. And we all know that's not happening. There was one paragraph in this article that really stood out to me, and that's what I want us to talk about. Opponents of no-fault divorce argue that it is hurting American families and American culture. Making divorce too easy causes social upheaval, unfettered dishonesty, lawlessness, violence towards women, war on men, and expendability of children. To devalue marriage is to devalue the family, is to undermine the foundation of a thriving society. Let's discuss this. Social upheaval. These ones, the Project 2025ers, they want the good old days back. And we all know what that means. A war on men. Here's the thing. Men believe that when we have a choice and we don't choose them, that they are being punished. They believe that if we are able to walk away from them and live freely without needing them or wanting them in our lives, that they are being punished. And this is also why we are seeing more violence toward women. To devalue marriage is to undermine the foundation of a thriving society. Y'all, they need more bodies. They need more bodies. If every man does not get a woman that he can trap in the house and put babies in, there will be no more worker bees for them to exploit and abuse. Please read between the lines when you listen to these people speak, because they've literally been telling us their plans for us the entire time, and this is a huge part of Project 2025. Please pay attention, because this is not a joke, this is not a game, and they are dead serious about trapping us in the house to make us labor slaves and incubators.
Cocaine is a hell of a drug. A total fallacy. First, not all women can stay at home. Nowadays, many women earn the same or more than the men they're with. So many don't quit their jobs because the economy doesn't allow it. Second, I agree that anyone who doesn't want to be married should be able to leave. Now, you shouldn't be rewarded for separating. If you supposedly got married for love, which only men do, because only men marry for love, women do it for a lifestyle. Only a man who loves signs a contract that only harms him. As I was saying, if you want to leave, it's fair that you go. But leave as you came. Why should you have access to my assets when you divorce me simply because you're bored? If you decide to leave the marriage, why do I have to pack my bags? Why don't you do it, since you're the one who wants to leave? Why do you have to take my children if this is their home when you're the one making an emotional decision because you know you'll be rewarded for leaving? So, you're not a slave if you leave with my money. You're a scammer, to put it better.
Divorce became the norm. The suicide rate in women dropped by 20%.
I totally believe this. When I was going through my divorce, I wanted to get divorced as quickly as possible. I wanted to be out of my marriage. I didn't know the man that I married. I didn't trust him. I didn't know what he was doing behind my back. And every single day that I stayed legally bound to him was another day that he could do things and tie me into them, right? And I wanted out. That's all I wanted, was out. And I remember emailing him and telling him, like, I want to be divorced as quickly as possible. Like, we've lived it separately as however long, like, can we pursue I think it's like a 90-day divorce in the state of Louisiana? And he absolutely refused. I still have all the emails from his Keen Miller email. He told me there was no way he was going in front of a judge and telling a judge honestly what he had done to me that would allow me to have a 90-day divorce. He told me absolutely not, and that we would file as no fault divorce. And so I had to stay. I had to remain trapped and waiting for 6 months until I could actually legally get divorced from that man. And when he filed the paperwork for my divorce, he couldn't even file the paperwork in my actual name. He literally did everything he could to hurt me, to trigger me, to trap me, and to make himself look like a victim. And so I'm a huge advocate for no-fault divorce, because if that hadn't been an option for my ex-husband to pretend like he's some sort of a victim, I may never have gotten out alive. He was doing everything he could to put as much pressure on me as possible, and he was setting narratives up with all of his little coworkers, and behind my back he was telling everybody how unwell I was for so long, because he was literally trying to set the stage as a victim in case I did take my own life, because he was trying to force me in every way he possibly could, through financial control, through coercive control, through false narratives, through using third parties and acting like he was some sort of victim, he would have loved nothing more than for me to have taken my own life. So yeah, watch this video, go look at the statistics, and fight for your rights, because nobody else is going to.
We could have been a good couple. We could have had something special. But you one crazy ass bitch.
For as long as I can remember, there hasn't been a woman who hasn't claimed to be a victim, because it seems that all the men in this country are potential abusers. Even your sons, if they are boys, will be tomorrow according to this logic. According to her, the solution was to request a no-fault divorce. But the idea she came up with was that the man would say, "I'm an abuser. She's the victim." She wants a quick 90-day divorce. But why don't you say that saying something like that for that man would have been like saying, "Judge, take everything from me. Give it all to her." Of course, no man with any sense would do that. That man would have come out of that court more plucked than a chicken. But of course, she is the victim. When he got a lawyer, witnesses, and protected himself, she wanted to die from the abuse. Because even giving you what you want, which is the divorce, the man is still bad. Why don't you say that it's not that you wanted to die? It's that you left broke, you couldn't get what you wanted, because the last thing you thought about was putting a rope around your neck to take your life. What you didn't want was to see the bank account empty.
Some conservatives are targeting divorce as the next avenue to curtail women's freedoms. Let me explain. The US uses a no-fault divorce system, meaning that you don't have to prove to a judge that you deserve a divorce. So like Sophie Turner and Joe Jonas can divorce for irreconcilable differences. Our legal system assumes that it's not a good idea to force people to stay in marriages that they're unhappy in. But it wasn't always that way. Once upon a time, you would have to prove to a presumably male judge that you deserved to get a divorce. And this was particularly harmful for women who initiate nearly 70% of divorces. All right, so some conservatives, like Texas Republicans, are trying to scale back that no-fault divorce system because they're saying accessible divorce is just ruining the institution of marriage. We've got all of these people just getting divorces over small irritants that they should just work out. One senator even suggested that people should just stay in unhappy marriages, even violent ones, for the sake of children. Also claim that accessible divorce is actually bad for women because it makes men more likely to cheat on us. If you listen closer, their real problem is women having agency and having power and being able to make decisions without a man's permission. I mean, just listen to this Republican commentator.
This was not my choice. My then wife decided that she didn't want to be married anymore. And in the state of Texas, that is completely permitted.
Okay, and one other thing. Let's talk about the fact that there are a record amount of single men right now, and women still initiate 70% of divorces, which really isn't that surprising because men are far more likely to cheat, far more likely to physically and sexually abuse their partner, and they are far less likely to do domestic and emotional labor, even when the woman is the breadwinner. Okay, so let's just put all the pieces together here. We've got a record amount of single men because women are like, I don't really need this. And at the same time, predominantly male legislators are trying to reinstate laws that have historically been used to trap women in marriages. They're eroding reproductive rights and trying to create obstacles to obtaining a divorce.
No! God, please, no! No! No!
It's not about the fear of the man being alone. It's the fear of having to start from scratch. Let me explain with an example. A man has a house, 2 cars, some properties, a good job, and 2 kids. The woman works, but she is bored and wants excitement, so she goes to her lawyer and says she wants a divorce. The lawyer will give her the best reasons, no-fault divorce. But first, he will tell her to quit her job for a year or 6 months, make herself dependent on him, and then claim financial abuse, followed by emotional abuse. Because I tell you, emotional abuse can be anything. So, she asks for a divorce. The woman goes to the man and asks for a divorce without him knowing why. In front of the judge, they only see the woman as the victim. Since the man works and supports her, he will lose half of the house, half of his money, and any assets. She stays in the house, so she is the primary caregiver of the children and keeps them. Of course, child support is required because the poor woman doesn't work, so there must be alimony. But don't forget part of your retirement because she must continue to be supported. So, you're not at fault, but you'll pay the price for her wanting a divorce. Where is the fairness in this? If she, as this woman says, just wants her right to be free, but of course, freedom financed by you, because someone has to pay for her new adventures.
Conservative lawmakers are trying to get rid of the no-fault divorce. And let me tell you why this is so dangerous for women and why it can actually backfire on their asses. So in 1969, California was the first state to instill no-fault divorces, and then a lot of other states followed. And by 2010, all states had this no-fault divorce law. And what this means is you can get divorced for any reason. I mean, how many times have we seen irreconcilable differences as far as a reason for divorce? But prior to this, in order for you to get a divorce, you had to show that your partner did something egregious. And this was very dangerous for women because it was really hard to show emotional abuse. I mean, you could show physical abuse if you took pictures. I mean, back then there weren't cameras like there are now. But if your husband emotionally abused you, that was almost impossible to prove, and you were stuck in a toxic marriage. And this is also really dangerous for women because 70% of divorces are initiated by women, because women suffer in marriages a lot more than men do. We're responsible to take care of the household, of the children, of the husband, and there are so many burdens that fall on women that women just aren't happy. And also the abuse factor, right? Women get abused by men more than men get abused by women. So when you had to prove fault, it was very, very difficult to get a divorce. And also, since you had to prove that there was something wrong in your marriage, a lot of couples just made stuff up, literally made stuff up in order to be able to get a divorce. So the no-fault divorce came in really to save the legal system, because people were making up bullshit about the reasons that they wanted to get a divorce, and it was just easier to have no-fault divorces. But now the conservative right wants to take that back, and this is in line with all the rights of women that they're trying to take back. I mean, they already took back Roe v. Wade, and now they're trying to take back our ability to say, you know what? I just don't want to be married to this fool anymore. But what they're not understanding is now that we have cell phones, and now that we have pictures, and now that we have videos, this is going to backfire on the men. Because every indiscretion that the dude has, every time the dude touches you, every time the dude abuses you, anytime the dude does something that he's not supposed to do, guess what? You could document that. And that is going to be dragged all in court. All your business is going to be dragged in court. Now, I'm not saying it's just men that do shady shit. I understand a lot of women do it as well, but understand that all the shady shit that you are doing is going to be public information. But regardless of all of that, we just need to understand that a no-fault divorce benefits women, because again, divorce is initiated 70% by women. And if we have to show egregious behavior in order to get out of this toxic relationship, do you understand what that does to women's rights and our ability to control our own destiny? Oh, I forgot, but you guys don't care, because the only thing you care about is taking power away from women and giving it to men. Got it.
Oh my God!
43% of divorces are due to dissatisfaction and disconnection. You know what that means. They were bored. It's about wanting to be with a new man they feel more attracted to, but they don't want to do it while still married due to the risk of being left out on the street for infidelity. So, they go for the no-fault divorce because with that, they don't need to give reasons. They will always use the emotional abuse card. For women, responsibility is kryptonite. As I said, not all of them stay at home. The idea of having all the household responsibilities is a lie. Who mows the lawn? The man. Who cleans the roof? The man. Who repairs anything in the house? The man. Why do you think it's easy to tell which house belongs to a single mother and which one to a family in the neighborhood? Because the single mother's house looks like a mess since they don't do those tasks. Here, no one wants to take away their power. Because letting them have it, we only see more women today becoming homeless or sleeping in their cars because they can't support themselves. They have become the biggest consumers of antidepressants, and therapy offices are filled with women. So, don't blame us. We just want to equalize the rights.
There's all this talk about no-fault divorce coming to an end, like we see in this comment here. And I, for the life of me, cannot understand why people, particularly men, would want it to come to an end. Do you really want women, particularly or possibly your own wife, to be stuck in a marriage with you? Do you really want her to be held hostage, legally held hostage by you? Do you really want to be married to a woman that doesn't want you? Married to a woman that possibly hates you, or certainly will hate you when she can't divorce you. I mean, really think about it. Who is it benefiting to get rid of no-fault divorce? What am I missing here? Do you really want to be forced to stay in a life with someone that doesn't want to be with you? How does that ever make sense? Even if you don't care about their happiness or if they're going to be miserable, they're going to make you miserable. I mean, if they don't want to be with you and they're stuck in a marriage with you, how do you think it's going to affect all other parts of the life that you guys have? Are you thinking that because she is now stuck, she's going to take a closer look at you and see what she really has? Absolutely not. Why do you want an indentured servant? Do you think that she's all of a sudden going to find this attraction for you? She isn't. Why would you want to be stuck in a marriage with someone who finds your touch physically repulsive? Give me a good answer.
No one is against divorcing. There are men with terrible women who want to leave. But here's the detail. It doesn't matter if the man decides to leave or if she leaves him, he will be penalized either way. That's why men ask for divorce less, and women ask for it more because they are rewarded for leaving you, while you are punished no matter what. Divorce itself is not the problem here. It's the financial laws that come with it. Women pay less child support compared to men. Women are the majority who receive alimony. In almost all divorces, women get to keep the house. Women even get part of your retirement or 401k. That's the injustice. It's not about wanting to leave. It's about having to pay for leaving. Because the law is not unfair when a woman asks for a divorce, it's unfair when a man asks for it because he's bored and wants to leave a woman. The judge or family court takes everything from this man, absolutely everything, leaving him ruined. Sometimes even having to support this woman with alimony when she's not even with him. Oh, but that's not unfair, right? I'm not against the law. I just want it modified so that anyone who divorces for that reason gets nothing. Custody of the children should be divided, but you leave as you came, with a suitcase in hand, happy with your divorce as you wanted. Welcome to The Wall. In today's video, we will see a woman in her 60s who calls herself the Reverend Feminist. This woman has a virulent hatred for all masculine men. We will see her talk about the 2025 Family Reconstruction Project and how she says men are to blame for the removal of the no-fault divorce law. We want to invite you to smash that like button and help us reach 100,000 subscribers by the end of the year to get our first plaque. That is the only support we ask of you, man. Add your grain of sand to the movement, share your experience in the comments for any man who might need it. And without further introduction, let's get started.
Stop telling me I'm overreacting to Project 2025. Every day it becomes more clear that this plan will make us a theocracy. And what's equally terrifying is how quickly things are changing here. When you consider that the ACLU is currently tracking over 500 anti-LGBTQIA+ bills right now, you can see how quickly Project 2025 is already going into place. And if Project 2025 goes into place across this entire nation, the only person who's going to be safe is the white Christian man. Project 2025 is an initiative by the Heritage Foundation. This is basically a plan that ensures that the initiatives that Christian nationalists want to be put in place will be expedited in 2025 because they are assuming that they will have the Congress and that they will have the presidency because they already have SCOTUS. Project 2025 removes all protections against discrimination based on gender or sexual identity. It terminates all DEI programs, including affirmative action. Of course, it prioritizes Christian nationalism. And that's just not any type of Christianity. That means the literal translation of the Bible that says there are only two genders and the earth is 6,000 years old. And beliefs like that would become the law of the land. And that would be the primary influence that would be taught in our schools. Speaking of education, private Christian schools will be eligible for funding just as if they are public education. Public education would be restricted on what they could teach about biology, science, and history. Project 2025 annihilates all women's rights and would criminalize abortion. And that is already happening. Texas right now is considering the death penalty for women who seek abortions. This also gives government oversight of frozen embryos for IVF treatment, a $2 trillion reduction in Medicaid, a $6 billion cut to the Affordable Care Act, $4 billion reduced from food assistance. Think about that right now. You know someone or love someone whose livelihood depends on that assistance. If Trump is reelected, he will have authority over all branches of government because Project 2025 lays out a plan to fire all civil servants and replace them with Christian nationalist loyalists. The fallout for Project 2025 will reverberate throughout this country. If you are not a Christian nationalist, all religions and beliefs will be forced to the crevices of society. And don't think for a minute that states won't mandate who can marry. After all, right now, here in the state of Indiana, one of our governor candidates is Mike Braun. And 2 years ago, do you remember what he said? He said that he would be open to the Supreme Court overturning the 1967 ruling that allowed interracial marriage. Why? Because Mike Braun thinks that the states need to decide whether or not that is legal. You must educate yourself about how terrifying and dangerous Project 2025 is. Because if Project 2025 continues to walk us into a theocracy, we may never recover. And if Donald Trump is elected, no one will ever have equality again. No other religion or belief. No LGBTQIA plus humans, no Black, Indigenous, and people of color, no immigrants, no women, no disabled people. Friends, the threat is very real. We can fight this. Stay awake, use your voice, and vote.
Fuck up, you crazy bitch whore!
A complete fallacy. First, most laws here have to pass through the Senate. Second, why is a law that promotes equality as a human being bad? Because it's better to have a man dressed as a woman teaching biology to your kids from ages 5 to 8. Why is it better that a woman today has all the rights, from child support, alimony, custody of your children, and can access all your assets with minimal years of marriage? As a man, no matter your color, you can't protect yourself. Fathers are forbidden from seeing their children, and just because a woman accuses you of abuse, you're already paying with jail time. But of course, these laws are just yet a project of laws that create fair equality, where no one is above anyone else, is bad. Moreover, this woman is the reverend feminist. This tells us everything we need to know. Over 60 women without a husband, bitter, and with a cat. What types of laws do you think they will want to pass?
Project 2025 is coming after no-fault divorce. Do you know why? Because they want to return us to a time when women were baby factories and relied on their husbands for financial survival. This article, written by Emma Waters in 2022 for the Heritage Foundation, Waters lays the groundwork for opposing no-fault divorce. Now, don't forget who is the primary organizer of Project 2025. That's right, the Heritage Foundation. Take a look at this 2023 CNN article. This explains the ramp up in Christian nationalist commentators like Matt Walsh continually complain about no-fault divorces and how it harms men. It also explains how House Speaker Mike Johnson has been an opponent of no-fault divorce for years, even though the data clearly shows that because of no-fault divorce, there has been an 8 to 16% reduction in the number of women intentionally unaliving themselves. Also, the number of women who have been exposed to domestic violence has been reduced drastically. All thanks to no-fault divorce. In an article earlier this month in The Guardian, it reported that lawmakers in Oklahoma, Louisiana, Nebraska, and of course Texas are working to oppose no-fault divorce. You know what this means. It's only a matter of time before other states will follow. We know that Project 2025 is one of the biggest threats to human rights. Project 2025 clearly lays out how they plan to replace all federal employees with Trump loyalists. We also know that Project 2025 is happening right now with the attack on the LGBTQ rights, the elimination of DEI programs, Christian nationalists opposing IVF, and now they're coming after contraception. Under Project 2025, all protections against discrimination based on gender or sexual identity will be eliminated. Project 2025 prioritizes Christian nationalism. It ensures that only white Christian men will remain in power. They do not care who suffers underneath this power structure. Stay awake, use your voice, and vote.
Stop it. Get some help. Let me make this clear. This channel does not get involved in politics. Our support is for men, regardless of age or race. We are against anything that is unjust. The no-fault divorce law is an unjust law. Don't get me wrong. I support the idea that if you don't want to be with someone, you should be able to divorce. Because no one should be forced to be with anyone. But I do not support being rewarded for doing so. In a marriage that didn't last even 5 to 10 years, the woman divorces simply because she is bored or wants to go on an adventure with another man. Well, go ahead, but you get none of that man's assets. You lose custody rights because you are ruining the family simply by making an emotional decision. It is not fair that the man has to lose everything because you just want to go try out a Chad you liked. This happens a lot. Men receive divorce papers, not even knowing what they did wrong. When you ask the woman, she just says, "The love is gone. I don't love you anymore." They take half your money, accuse you of abuse just to keep the house, put you through an expensive divorce. Afterwards, you end up as a man without a home, with alimony, no money, watching as months later she brings another man to live in your house. Is that fair?
Project 2025 is a boogeyman for the left, huh? Did you hear what Oklahoma just did? Just a few minutes ago. All the public schools in Oklahoma are now required to teach the Bible. Oklahoma's state superintendent said the Bible is so integral to education because of its impact on Western civilization. This is what Christian nationalism looks like. This is the agenda of Project 2025. That agenda not only wants to annihilate all human rights that have been fought for up to now, they want to suffocate any other type of world religion or belief or non-belief by demanding that all students get a Bible education. That is not only turning us into a theocracy, this is religious oppression, and it is a violation of the Constitution. People like this are simply operatives for Christian nationalism. For the rest of us, you should be absolutely terrified about how close we are coming to an authoritarian state. Project 2025 is happening right now. Pay attention to what's happening in your state and stay awake. Use your voice and vote. These extremist Christians must be stopped.
Cocaine is a hell of a drug.
Christianity is extremist, but it's okay for a man dressed as a woman to come to a school and talk to your kids, teaching them that being like that is the right path. It's okay that women today have more rights than men, that we are in this matriarchal system where even talking to a woman can lead to harassment allegations. It's okay for people to burn the flag of your country and raise a rainbow flag above the flag that thousands of veterans died defending for our nation's values. It's okay to have marches and commemorative days, but if someone comes out with a Bible, they will be discriminated against for their belief while others can proclaim theirs. It's okay that you are on every TV channel and series, that schools have progressive agendas where boys are told that masculinity is toxic, that everything they say or do is misogynistic, that just because a boy is white, he belongs to patriarchal white nationalism, and a black man, just for arguing, is considered misogynistic, accused by a woman who was just bothered by his presence. That's fair, right? But it's wrong for someone to talk to you about equality as an individual, to tell you that it's okay to be yourself because God loves you just as you are, and that strong, masculine men are needed.
Why are people going to vote for someone who has been proven time and again to be a liar? Because of patriarchy. Because of our patriarchal indoctrinations, we are taught to believe in confidence over competence. You know that phrase, I'd love to have the confidence of a mediocre white man? There's truth in that. And this isn't the first time in history that we are seeing this. We're going to end up talking about that man with the funny mustache in Europe, whose autobiography Trump kept on his nightstand. Patriarchal is a social system where men hold the primary power. That power gives them the primary role in political leadership, moral authority, social privilege, control of government, and control of property. Of course, that type of system requires that someone's going to be lower in that structure. Someone has to do the work for the man. This leads to the marginalization and the subordination of historically oppressed people. And so for many of us who are deconstructing from Christianity, this also has ties to religious patriarchy or Christian patriarchy. And this is where religious institutions and doctrines hold up the man as the primary authority. But patriarchal systems not only exist in church and in politics, they can exist in family structures, education, society. So you can see here in America how often we've been exposed to patriarchal indoctrinations. What's happening here with Trump versus Biden is deceptive confidence. Patriarchal indoctrination blinds us to deceptive confidence. Leaders like Trump exploit this by presenting a facade of certainty while avoiding substantive answers or plans. Just think back to the debate. How many questions did Trump really answer? Legal analyst Monique Presley put it this way: proof of Biden's ability to run the country is the fact that he's running it successfully, not a debate performance against a pathological, lying sociopath. Heather Cox Richardson explained that Trump used a technique called Gish Gallop. This is where someone uses a technique that throws out a fast string of lies, false claims, and basic gibberish so quickly and so fast that it is impossible to fact check. This is where we get to the man in Europe with the funny mustache. There are many cases in histories of dictators rising to the top using confidence over competence. The man with the funny mustache perfected it. When speaking about the propaganda that he was using, the funny mustache man wrote in his autobiography, quote, "You must confine the propaganda itself to a few points and repeat them over and over," end quote. Who kept that autobiography by his bed? That's right, Trump. Trump is using the playbook from dictators. Trump is pretending to be competent by using a facade of confidence. Trump has mastered Gish Gallop to continue his stream of lies, both in the debate and in his campaign rallies. And yet, the masses continue to gobble that up because they're believing in the confidence over competence, thanks to patriarchy. Stay awake, use your voice, and vote.
Oh, hell no!
There is a saying that those who do not know their history are doomed to repeat it. In the last 50 years, we had a natural and just order. It's only in the last 10 years that this order has been breaking down, with more laws being passed every day, causing our country to sink into severe polarization. Just look at how we are on the brink of entering a third world war today. As I said, I don't support any parties. Vote for the one you feel deserves your vote. Now, I am against what this woman says, as she is only bothered by a confident man speaking the truth, talking about an agenda that the party never said they would implement, just because her beliefs might be challenged, and she accuses all men of carrying it out. I am against giving more rights to people who do nothing productive, against the implementation of a progressive victimhood agenda, where even companies are obligated to hire people based on ideology rather than talent, where a man is accused just for going to the gym and taking care of his body, where a woman who wants to have children and stay at home is demonized by a single woman who destroyed her marriage, where a man can lose all his assets because a woman files for divorce over trivial reasons, and against a man wanting to protect his family, be masculine, and discipline his children, being accused of abuse or misogyny. That's what I am against.
Let's talk about what this comment teaches us about Project 2025, religious patriarchy, and misogyny. Your attempt at using sarcasm to place a narrative over my video falls short, because nowhere in my videos related to Project 2025 do I use a generalized language to support your assertion. Nowhere am I saying that all people with my skin tone are monsters. So what this feels like is someone is having fragile feelings around a difficult subject, and that someone is having trouble accepting some of our collective history. So to that end, you would be well served reading this book, Fever in the Heartland by Timothy Egan. This book tells of the rise of the YT supremacy that is a precursor to the Jerry Falwell, Paul Weyrich, and Ronald Reagan era. That is the era of Christian nationalism that brought us Project 2025. Another book that I recommend is Bad Faith by Randall Palmer. Palmer describes the real origin of the religious right. It has everything to do with segregation. If you don't want to buy that book, you can go to Politico.com and search for The Real Origin of the Religious Right, where Palmer wrote an article about that book. To even make it easier, there is a documentary called Bad Faith that is based on Palmer's book. It's available on several streaming channels. Now, to the last word of your comment. I'm not sure if you know who Joyce Meyer is, but I used to follow her all over the country. And she told a story one time that she always knew when she had crossed a line with her husband when he called her woman instead of her name. And while you may have thought it was subtle, it's insulting, it's dehumanizing, and it's objectifying. It asserts a dominance that reinforces the religious patriarchy. What you are doing is using this to remind me of outdated norms and subtly remind me of my inferior position to you, a man. It signals misogyny, but I want you to know that I reject it vehemently. While I'm certain that nothing I say about how you use that word will change your mind, for other people who are here, do not let men do this to you. You have a name. You have a space in the world. Take it up with courage and confidence. It's the men with fragile feelings who have to learn how to deal with it.
Oh my God!
I tell you, this woman is against men. This man tells her to stop demonizing white men because it's always the privileged patriarchal white man. Let me tell you something. In every race in this country, I've seen men with money and men who don't have a cent. I've seen men in high positions and men in the lowest positions. It's all victimhood. I know the past, but those who live in the past can't focus on the present. This woman has an agenda, but her agenda is against men. She targets a specific man until she will eventually target all men, as if there are no white men in the Democratic Party. So, are there good ones and bad ones? Another thing, family values, where the man is the leader, the provider, the protector of the family, exist in all races. There are Christians in all races. She just looks for an enemy to influence her hatred and bitterness of being a 60-year-old woman on the wall. Because it's a victimhood agenda, it doesn't matter the skin color of a man in this country. The abusive laws towards men also apply to you. And finally, since when has saying the word woman become a form of oppression? How should we refer to them then? Aliens? That's why I say we have reached such absurdity that if you ask a woman what a woman is, today she doesn't even know what it is. This is the point we're at, brothers. We've reached the end of the video, but before we go, the questions are for you. What do you think of the 2025 project? What do you think of this woman's hatred towards masculine men? If you enjoyed the video, make sure to give it a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, and hit the notification bell. Your support means the world to us and motivates us to create more content. Stay tuned for the next exciting video from the wall.